Hello, and welcome to our latest BlueSpice installation video where I will show you how to install Docker and our BlueSpice Docker containers for version 5.1.1. You can install BlueSpice on the Linux server of your choice. For this demonstration, I chose Ubuntu LTS 24.04. Ensure that you have sufficient disk space. We recommend allocating more than 20 gigabytes of disk space for this. How much space your wiki will actually use depends on the size and number of wiki pages and uploaded files. With roughly 80 gigabytes, you shouldn't have any disk space problems for quite some time. The installation consists of the following steps: preparing the installation, installing and running Docker itself, creating the BlueSpice installation directories, checking that Git is installed, cloning the repository, editing the environment file, deploying and starting Docker containers, checking that Docker containers are running, and finally logging into the front end. Step 1. Preparing the installation. First, we have to refresh the list of available packages from the software repository with sudo apt update. Then we need to make sure that ca-certificates and curl are installed. Next, we need to run a few commands to fix the permissions in case they are wrong. Then we need to add the key to the keychain. And finally, let's do another update just to be safe. And now on to step 2, installing and running Docker itself. We highly recommend to use the official Docker repositories from docker.com. Those can be found at docs.docker.com/engine/install. Just follow the commands that I'm using here. We'll also list them in the video description so that you can copy and paste them. Once Docker is installed, we check with docker run hello world that Docker is actually running. And it is. Great. For step 3, we need to create the BlueSpice installation directories. For this, we are usually within the /docker. For step 4, we need to check that Git is installed. Usually it is, but let's check just to be safe. All right, it's installed. For step 5, now we need to clone the repository. To get the deploy script, change to the compose directory with cd BlueSpice, then cd compose. And here we have the BlueSpice deploy script. Although we use Docker, you should not use the Docker commands directly. Instead, use the BlueSpice deploy script. It basically uses the same arguments as the Docker commands, so there shouldn't be much of a difference. On to step 6, we need to edit the environment file. Just copy it from .env.sample to .env. And now we need to edit .env. Let's go through the configuration. Data directory should go to /docker/bluespice/_data. Version is 5.1.1. Make sure you check the latest version on our help desk. Edition is free. All right, the language here is fine. Just know that you can change it to the language of your choice. For example, you could write DE if you want to set up a German language wiki. For wiki host, usually this is the FQDN of your wiki server. For this demo, however, we are working on a local machine, and for that reason, I'll use its IP address. All right, next, I also want to change the wiki port to port 80 and wiki protocol to HTTP, since in this test system we don't have HTTPS enabled. In the production environment, you should always use HTTPS, of course. For the database, as DB user, we set BlueSpice, and as DB pass for the password, we use BlueSpice as well. We recommend you use a secure password, but for this purpose, BlueSpice is fine. All right, DB host and DB name are okay. The SMTP entries are just relevant if you want to have email notifications. Let's Encrypt is only relevant if you use a Let's Encrypt SSL certificate. Next, on to step 7, deploying and starting the Docker containers. Now we can pull the Docker containers via the BlueSpice deploy command. As I mentioned before, do not use the Docker commands here. And now it's just pulling. Once that's done, we start the Docker containers. We do that via /bluespice-deploy up-d. And while this is happening, I'll just give a quick explanation for what the Docker containers are doing. We have BlueSpice-formula, which is our software tool for rendering math formulas in the front end. Then we have BlueSpice cache, which is a container for memcache. BlueSpice-prepare is a container that actually sets up the environment we need for Docker. BlueSpice-proxy is a Nginx proxy that is in the front of the wiki software. BlueSpice-PDF is our PDF export tool. The BlueSpice-diagram container hosts the Draw.io companion application, which provides the editor interface for creating diagram visualizations within a wiki page. Next, we have BlueSpice-search, the actual OpenSearch container for wiki search. BlueSpice-database is Maria database. BlueSpice-upgrade helps on structural upgrades that might be needed on major upgrades. And lastly, BlueSpice-wiki-web and BlueSpice-wiki-tasks are the two containers with the actual BlueSpice software in it. On to step 8, we need to verify that the containers are running correctly. To do this, we do a BlueSpice-deploy --ps. And now you can see we have a cache, database, diagram, formula, PDF, proxy, search, task, and web. All right, that's good. That's all we need. And by the way, if you want to check out the logs for BlueSpice, we have a command for that also. It is BlueSpice-deploy logs. Similarly, you can add the -f parameter if you want a rolling log. You can omit it if you want to get the normal printout of logs. All right, so let's double check that all the volumes were created correctly. The command is ls-la/docker BlueSpice/_data. And here they are. The directory structure looks fine. And now on to step 9, the final step. So before we can log into the front end for the wiki, we need to find a copy of the initial admin password. We switch to the web browser and enter the URL of the wiki. And here we have our working BlueSpice wiki. We log in with username admin and the password we just got from the command line. And here we see the main page of the wiki. Let's create a test page just to test out some features and make sure everything's working properly. All right, we add a heading. Let's just call it heading. Then we add a code block, a short bash script. And let's insert the code block. Perfect. We can also add a chemical formula. Let's take this one. And a math formula. Let's use this one. All right, save the page. Everything looks good. Last but not least, let's search for our test page. And here it is. So the wiki appears functional, and with that, you can start using your BlueSpice wiki. If you have any questions about installing BlueSpice, please visit our community forum at community.bluespice.com. Thank you.